We have a song called Guns, Drugs, and Money that we play, and I had gotten so offended as an American that the president had exercised his executive privilege to cover up somebody who, Eric Holder, who... to me, I believe that if you're held in contempt and you have documents that are going to either exonerate you or put you in jail, why hide them if it's going to get you off the hook? So that to me is really mind-blowing, and I guess it's been proven that it was staged to restrict the Second Amendment, and it's not just that. The crimes that it appears that is taking place, when you look at the Constitution, there's something in the Constitution where you have to get congressional permission to go to war, and if you don't get congressional permission, there's a clause in there where you have a certain amount of time after that where you have to get permission to go to war. And to my knowledge, when we went into Libya, that didn't happen. And it still hasn't happened.
No, you're right. In fact, if there's some emergency, he's got a couple months. But then after that, you've got to go get the congressional approval. They control the purse. Mm-hmm. And they sent in the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the other generals, the Secretary of Defense, Panetta. And Obama put a letter out when Congress said, hey, you got to get approval from us. He said, no, I get it from the UN and NATO. He put a letter out, right. And they had him go before Congress. We played the clips on the show. They're so incredible. Mm-hmm. And I think that woke up the military and police more than anything I've seen. Now, if I go downtown Austin, the cops just stop and go, you were right, we apologize, it's all true. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back with more of this exclusive premiere of the Dave Mustaine interview that I did here in studio after the show last weekend. And we're going to be coming back with more of this powerful interview. Then we have a special guest in studio in the third hour. There's a ton of breaking news right now on the front page of Prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. They're not going to take your business away if you don't support homosexuality. Alex Jones here with a message to fellow. I think when I was in Virginia, bullhorning Bilderberg, the cops were on our side, would come over and go, no, we saw that. They told us that. I mean, think about that. I'm getting chills right now, Dave.
What bothers me the most about it is the fact that they have these shills that are going on all of the programs defending this Fast and Furious thing. And Brian Terry lost his life, and his family, you can try not to watch TV. You can try not to look at the newspapers, but you see this stuff. And it must be devastating to see your own president just kind of sliding this whole thing under the rug. And the thing behind all of this is that, it's not going to stop. When we go through traveling through all the different checkpoints over through Europe, before all the globalization was taking place, and each country had its own border and they had their own language and stuff like that. You'd come up to customs, you go to the border, you'd have to stop and hand in their passport and stuff like that. And now you just kind of roll through there. But when you come to your own country, it's harder to come home. It's harder to go through an airport here in the United States of America than it was for us even in Moscow. We just got back from Moscow, and we rolled through there so fast. I was laughing about it because we got out of the plane, through customs, got our luggage, and we're in the vans rolling to the hotel for the show faster than we get through customs when I come home to the U.S.
We're not as free as we thought. And what's amazing is it's on the news. Obama legalized a bunch of illegals. And when they do fake stings of businesses and stuff, they just release them. And they're now telling sheriffs all over the country that they are not going to pick up illegals that they arrest, even if they're committing crimes.
I don't know anything about that, but I do know that from the people that we've spoken to that are Latino, that we have a huge contingency of Latino fans here in Texas,
all over,
in New Mexico, and Arizona, and California. Central and South America, in Spain, and in a lot of the neighboring countries around Spain that are still Spanish-speaking fans. And they have relatives that are here, whether they're legal or illegal, and they know that this was a move to get votes. They know that. The one thing that you can't make, just because they don't speak English doesn't mean they're stupid.
Exactly. Well, they've had a lot of tyranny in Latin American countries. They're certainly more savvy in many ways.
Yeah, they are.
Finishing up with Fast and Furious, if Obama can get away with shipping close to 20,000 guns and hand grenades into Mexico, and guns into Honduras, and then states like Florida and Illinois to drug gangs for whatever reason. I mean, my gosh, what are they going to get away with next? I mean, it really is creepy.
I do know this. It's amazing how our liberties are being taken away from us. It's like the frog in the pot of boiling water. You know, if it was boiling water when he jumped in, he'd jump back out. But they slowly turn the temperature up. The frog will stay in there until he boils to death. And that's what's happening to us right here. We don't know what's going on. A lot of the American people are so busy working their asses off to make ends meet right now. They don't have time to sit in front of the news. And the news is such pablum. It's opium for the masses. And it's stuff that you want to feel good. See, the thing that I laugh about when I hear Obama say, oh, give the folks a chance. Give everybody a chance, you know, take away from the rich people. Well, what happens when the folks that he's given a chance gets a chance, becomes successful, is rich? Well, then all of a sudden, you're Obama's enemy now. And the thing for me is that, you know, I'm in that 1% that he's talking about. Megadeth won't be able to tour anymore once all these things that he's planning on doing to me happens. On top of the fact that...
Yeah, we've talked privately. You said, listen, after all the taxes and everything, I'm getting like 20% of it. If they do this, it's over.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in Venezuela or Russia. They don't get it. Once you cut out that small profit margin, it's over.
It's done. It's done. And the fact that he would say that I did not build my own business offends me tremendously. I'm disgusted with this guy. And you know, he's my president. You know, I respect the office of the presidency, but I think as a person and the things that he says, I've never heard anything this offensive ever come out of the mouth of a president. And I'm 50. I've heard a lot of presidents talk in my life. And, you know, listeners out there can say what they want about me or be mad at what I'm saying right now. And I'm saying this out of love for you guys. You know, you may not have love in your heart for me, but I have love in my heart for you. And that's why I'm a public figure and I play music. I try and educate people through lyrics. Some of the songs could be construed as being a little bit, you know, unrealistic. You know, some of the songs are a little bit fun.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back with more of Dave Mustaine exclusive, in-depth political hardcore interview. Straight ahead, I'm Alex Jones. We are live. It is the 26th day on this Thursday of July, 2012. Year of our Lord, and tyranny is running wild right now. Christians are now to have their businesses taken by Obama. We'll be right back.
And, you know, they're make-believe topics and stuff like that. But songs like Peace Sells, But Who's Buying is still relevant today. Songs like Holy Wars is still relevant today.
More relevant than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And that wasn't because I was clever and I came up with a lyric. I paid attention. I watched what happened through the Carter years, through the Ford years, and watched how, you know, what Jimmy Carter did to our country. Taxes at 70%, you know, when I was growing up and thinking, how on earth did anybody survive back then? For me, when you take out 5% for the business manager, 15% for the personal manager, 10% for the agent, and 45% for taxes, what's left for Dave? You know, and people think, oh, Dave's a millionaire. No, Dave isn't. Dave is an American that's getting plowed by the government.
Listen, over 90% of the money, it's like 95 that comes in here, goes to the crew and taxes, and they all pay taxes. Mm-hmm. People don't get it. I mean, feudal serfs paid about 10%. We pay almost everything. People have no idea. They think, well, they've done actuaries where if you took all the rich people's money, what they call rich, in the United States, it'd run the country for like 3 months. I mean, it's gone. But that's who goes and gets their hair done. That's who goes and buys cars and buys houses and buys clothes. That's who's buying stuff.
Right.
You get rid of the middle class and the rich people, it's over. But the ultra-rich, they're offshore. They're actually the ones selling this monopoly.
Right. You know, the funny thing was many years ago when Obama first got in office, I had said something. I was in Australia, and I was on the radio, and a lot of people took exception to what I said. I said that he was the most divisive president that I've ever seen, and look what's happening right now. There's race wars, there's class wars, you know, there's sexual wars now, there's religious wars, and you know, don't we remember how smooth this guy was when he was saying that, you know, we're going to bring everybody together and he's for change and hope.
His minions would say, thank you, I'm getting a free house, and he wouldn't disagree with them. But they're not getting a free house now. That's what's so amazing about this, Dave, is that when he says, if you have a small business, You didn't build that. That's a quote. I mean, that is a direct attack on the American dream. And everybody I know who's a musician, an artist, a person that gets up at 4 a.m. to make a bricklayer donuts, they know, no, I did this, man. Don't sit there and say I didn't do this.
Get up in the morning and they...
The little bit you get to keep.
Yeah.
And then they're telling you didn't do that.
So see, for me, the way that I get any kind of solace out of what's going on right now, because, you know, I've been playing for a long time and I don't plan on playing another 30 years. Although, you know, I would like to be able to play music for the rest of my life. I don't know that I'll be doing it on the road. The pleasure I get out of that is being on stage, looking at people's faces, smiling and stuff like that. The screeching reality is when you travel and you go back through the airports. When we left here last time, my 14-year-old was groped by the TSA, and I was so mad. I was swearing, and the one very large woman said, "What's that?" And I said, "You heard what I said." And Pam, my wife, grabbed me and she said, "Don't say anything," because she knows that these guys are power drunk and that they probably would have arrested me for just saying something about them groping my 14-year-old. The thing that really is blowing me away is this molecular scanner, this pico scanner, whatever they're talking about. And it's not only here. The Russians have one too. So it's something that's very real. And I read up on that and it says it's about gunpowder and explosives, and that's what the primary purpose of it is. But it also says that it can read inside of your system and say what kind of medication you're on. So I imagine with this...
It's a total invasion of your Fourth Amendment.
Right. I imagine that what they're going to do is they're going to have a database to cross-reference whether the person that shows up that's got narcotics in his system is under doctor's care or not. Or if, you know, they for example, for me, when we're on tour, we're around people who do pyro. And pyro is gunpowder and explosives for the fireworks.
Now you have fire and explosions.
So if I shake hands with my pyrotechnician, I'm going to get arrested for being a terrorist because I've got trace elements of gunpowder and explosives on me because there's fireworks going on. On top of the fact that because of the cocaine use and people using dollar bills rolled,
it's on everything.
There's traces of cocaine on all money, so anybody touching currency is going to have trace remnants of cocaine on their hands. That's going to show up, and it's just madness, you know, to think that it's getting to this point. I mean, I can handle us having security, but not like this.
It's about making all of us the criminals, but the state is exempt. Look at all the TSA agents that have been caught being convicted pedophiles. They're hiring felons, robbing people, abusing...
Yeah, I saw something the other day. This guy was an artist, and he had a half ounce of weed in his suitcase, and the guy wrote on one of those cards that I get in my suitcases every time I open them, "Come on, son." But they left his herb in there, and the guy tweeted and said, "Can you believe this guy let me off?" And
I saw that. I saw the note. So it's all selectively enforced. And then a woman had a catheter. They ripped that out of her. Colostomy bags.
Oh, my God.
Old World War II vets. People.
Children.
I mean,
handicapped kids.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
It's all a giant power grab. And now they're saying because of the shooting out in Denver, they want TSA in the malls.
Yeah, people will stop going to movies. And you know, if the people that own the theaters are that stupid, they're going to put themselves out of business. You know, and rightly so. If they do that, they deserve to be put out of business.
Yeah, because even though it's a tragedy, 13 dead and 70 plus wounded, that many die every day on the state's highways in Texas. I mean, literally, they're hyping this culture of total fear up. When we talked this morning after the shooting out in Denver, I mean,